the Lou Information Station, brought to you by our gorgeous magazines, Chesterfield, Clayton, City Lifestyle magazines. You can go to citylifestyle.com, check out the magazines. You can put whatever city you want in. We got some great stories. We've had, of course, been showing off October all month, which I can't believe October is actually finished. And I just got asked today what we're doing for Thanksgiving.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I thought about
like, how
that
is
the
this
other day.
happening?
Every year I go, I'm going to be really ready and prepared for Thanksgiving, for Christmas. I'm going to be ready. And then all of a sudden, guess what? It's on your
here,
doorstep and you're knocking at the door going,
well,
here.
You have been busy. You really did a great job decorating. I can't believe Friday is going to be Halloween with over 1,000 kids coming through down our street to get candy.
We're probably going to have 20 to 25 people at our house.
Yeah, be a good time. And then we're going to be wearing a costume this week to bring it home with the show, which will be fun. But I was just going to mention something about, when your husband decides to build a greenhouse in the backyard. So our neighbors are probably wondering, like, you were out there in the pouring down rain yesterday working.
I know.
You are
insane.
Yes. Yes. And every time I walk by this establishment that he's building in our backyard, I accidentally, it's like a reflex. Do you ever do something when someone does something that you're kind of like, what is going on? And you give that unintentional,
Well, we live in Newtown, so the yards aren't huge.
No. And we've got a bigger one considered.
I will say it's a little bit bigger than I had anticipated.
A little bit? It's an addition to the home. I'm surprised that the building commissioner would be coming by to slap us with a fine for building.
It's a greenhouse, of course, so it's all glass and everywhere. And I just envision, like when you turn on those YouTube, like, mellow moment channels where it shows like you're in an all glassed in building with the snow falling outside and
fire on the inside. He's like
That's what I'm envisioning.
He's thinking ambiance and this, and you know what it's going to be? It's going to be a dust trap because there's more dust in our subdivision because there's cornfields next door. The windows are going to be dirty. I can't even imagine bird poop. We have geese flying over all the time. Do you see
who the optimistic one is here?
Yeah, that's going to be all over the top of it because you should see what happens to just the normal house and guttering and things they have to clean. So I can't imagine what this all glass building is going to look like and it's probably already there.
It's going to be amazing and she's going to love it. And
we're never going to sit in it.
Well, I will.
No, we have a million places to sit. This is one of those moments that when a wife just says, oh my gosh.
In reality, that's a piece of property that we never use very much. Even when you put the long table out there, we never sat out there.
So he thinks because he built a glass building.
You put a table out there.
Now the table.
Never use.
The table is now inside this glass building. So we didn't use it when you didn't have to walk in anything. So imagine
today, when
the
you're
use of
listening to this or watching this, and you can go onto YouTube, or you can go to our Facebook and you're listening to it on Instagram, whatever it is you're listening to, or the KLIS. Actually, you can't post anything there, but go to our Facebook, go to our Instagram, go to all of those, LinkedIn, and comment. Whose side are you on? Kelley or Gordon? And it's not fair just because you're a woman, you can't say Kelley. And I know she's much more attractive than I am. That doesn't count either. Take away all those aspects.
There is no solid principle in this world that he should have been building a greenhouse in our backyard. First of all, we don't even garden.
I'm going to download a picture. I'm going to find this greenhouse.
He's going to show you the greenhouse, but I guarantee you, not 100%, but 500%, this argument will be won by me because that is an AI generated video of this amazing.
It looks just like what I bought.
No, it doesn't. It does. It's AI, and then it even has it like decorated on the inside, like it's a living room or something like that. So yeah, it's really big. It takes up a lot of room, and it is probably the one that we did not need to have, but we have it. So what we are going to have today is we are going to be talking about some very St. Louis eerie legends and haunted landmarks that we're going to talk about, some ghost stories, along with...
First of all, there it is. Doesn't that look great? It looks amazing.
It's not what it looks like in our
See the
backyard. And there's
couch in
not
there?
there's not a
Well, it does.
pool.
It will look like
And
that.
let me
Well,
tell
it
you,
doesn't have a pool. We can't.
there is no room for a couch in here, and there is no room for a
Oh my
table.
gosh,
This is
that
so
freaking
AI'd.
big.
Okay.
It's not AI. It looks exactly like what
We're
I'm
going to
building.
get a divorce on this show tonight if he keeps saying that's what it looks like.
All
It's
right.
going to happen.
That's what it looks
But
like.
we are going to meet historian and author Christopher Allen Gordon and talk about the heartfelt love letters from World War II.
From World War II.
Imagine, putting this book together. There was, I'm sure, very heart-wrenching, and
Yeah.
I mean, those are incredible pieces that he's put together and put this book. So I look forward to getting to see that and talk about that. So we'll go from haunting tales to heartfelt memories. How about those two in the same thing?
There we go.
So let's talk about this, Gordon. You've kind of put together, you've got some places that, now, are we able to go and tour all of these places?
Well, some of them you can.
Are you with a friend? Because I won't be going.
We're going to start with this one right
Okay.
here. The Fox Theater is haunted.
Yeah.
So you can actually go to the Fox Theater. I think it is the like row 3 or 4, maybe.
Where they see that woman sitting
Where they
in
see
it?
that woman sitting all the time. There's also a light on stage that they leave for the ghost. There's one single light that sits up on stage. And there is also
I think we mentioned it before. We did our show, our In Your City show live there, and it was the only time ever that our cameras went black.
It went black while we were talking.
And we had no reason why.
Yeah.
They came back.
Still on.
But that's never happened to us in all the years of doing it, which was kind of
we all know
scary.
The Exorcist house.
Yeah, we just talked. Oh, I can't believe you're showing that picture. That's so scary.
Yeah.
That now there's no tours or anything with that house, and I believe there's people living in it now, right?
Yes.
Is that over near St. Alexius where the hospital is? I could never live in that house.
I don't know.
They say nothing happens. The people that live there now. All right, what else we have?
Then there's the mansion, of course. We all know the story behind
so much that has gone on in that. And of course they make the picture look even scarier with the foggy night and the lights around it and that. But you can go on tours there. You can even spend the night in the Lemp Mansion.
Yeah, and there was some. My notes are kind of messed up now. But the Haunted Mansion, the Exorcist house. This is Zombie Road. Have you heard of Zombie Road?
I have heard of it, but I've never driven down it. Now people have talked about that. Is that the one where your radio and weird things won't work when you're going down that road?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really remember.
I've had people talk about that do they see things? But I know that electronics and things like that tend to not work so well. Do you know? Do I need to look it up? Do you have any information on it?
I do, but for some reason,
it's just one of those shows like
it's a stretch of road.
Okay.
Lawler Ford Road is rumored to be haunted by female ghosts, shadow figures, and the spirits of children said to have never been buried properly. What people report sightings of dark shapes in the woods, inexplicable feelings of being watched, and I
wonder if anybody has like camped out, or what is the show where they're camping? And it's kind of crazy. You almost have a headache when you're watching it because it's bouncing around, because I guess they're wearing like a camera on their head or a light camera or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And they're moving. Which
is a Blair Witch
Project? Yes, Blair Witch Project. That's what is where they camp out and that. And so I was kind of wondering if Zombie Road is one of those things where people have taken the initiative to maybe camp out.
Here's one I didn't realize. Powell Symphony Hall. There's a spectacular gentleman in a white tux and a phantom in the projector room reportedly still take their seats for the next show.
Really? Now, what section? Where is that at? When you're now the room that I'm looking at, that's a cool looking door.
That's like one of those private rooms right there.
Now they have remodeled the Powell Symphony Hall, so this is an older section. Hopefully they kept that. What area is that?
There's the Fox. This is the Lehman House. The Lehman House is even when you're checking in for a cozy stay at the Lehman House, you might check in with a long deceased original owner still hovering in his bedroom.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. Look at that table. Remember the show we watched? It's kind of a comedy called Ghost.
Yes.
and only the lady can
Can
see
that
them.
you-
And then the husband starts to see them, and it's like they're just hanging out in the house doing crazy stuff. That's what this house
That
reminds
does look
me
like
of.
that.
But that's the Lehman house.
Now where's that at? In St.
I
Louis,
don't think
or
it says.
I would think sometimes a lot of the older, they've been around a long time.
Now, I showed this earlier, and you thought it was. This is Kaufman Park, and Kaufman Park is, locals say you still see ghostly figures in old war uniforms wandering the paths long after sunset. So Kaufman Park.
That's it right there. So it's
Yeah.
like an outside ghost area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It-
No thanks.
So there you go.
I don't want to go to
haunted places.
I don't want to go to Zombie Road. I don't want to go. There's there's a haunted castle that
No.
you can go to as well in Brumley, Missouri.
Yeah, and then the state penitentiary, which those guys talked about, where you can go to the Missouri State Penitentiary. The Pythian Castle, it was built in
Never heard of that.
1913. It was as an orphanage and later a military facility. Now the site of ghost tours. They report voices, moving orbs, and shadowy children. Why are children so creepy in scary movies?
I don't know.
It's like the Children of the Corn, and then like
And the kids that play those characters in the movie, that would have to be.
and when they sing, when all the little kids, all their voices together sing, it's just like super creepy.
Yeah, I saw a movie. Is it called? Oh gosh, Chosen. Looks like a new one. It's got kids in there, running through it shows the back of them, and it's just so creepy looking, seeing the kids. I think that would be hard to be a parent and let your child star in a scary movie like that. How do they do that? Do they have to go through counseling afterwards? I would think, I guess when you're on the set, it's not quite as, when you're watching it, it's filled with music and the way the lighting and all that. So it's much scarier, of course, than I guess, than making the movie. But I would think it would be a little bit haunting, especially when you hear of movies like Poltergeist, where people who starred in the movie passed away.
Let's talk about do we have time to talk about this? Let's talk about fun movies and TV shows. You know how like the TV shows, like the Andy Griffith Show or I Love Lucy, they would always have like a Christmas special or a Halloween special. There's an Andy Griffith episode where they go into this old house and you can see the picture with the eyes moving. And what's crazy is Don Knotts was in Andy Griffith's show, right? So Don Knotts, of course, he gets scared and he's flying all over the place. Later on, years later, Don Knotts was in a movie called what? A spooky movie. Do you remember what it was?
No.
The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Do you remember that movie?
Maybe slightly. I'm not sure.
Where he works in like, remember the newspapers? They had like the old printing presses that would have like the little, you'd have to put all those little blocks in there to print.
Crazy.
Gosh, could you imagine? But anyway,
everything took a lot longer.
He worked for them, and he was always saying stuff, and they just took him as whatever. You're goofy, Thought he's found a ghost, so they all took him serious. Later on, it's pretty funny. They found out who the ghost was, but you have to watch it.
Have you gone on any haunted tours before?
I went on the one in St. Charles.
Okay, that old man's been 105 for 100 years.
He's in his lab coat. He's in that white lab coat.
Oh no, he always wears all black.
Oh, he was in a white lab coat when he did the tour.
Wonder why a lab coat?
I don't know.
White hair, the long white hair guy, right? Yeah, he's looked like that for like 100 years already. So he said he was worn old. I don't know.
Just a ghost. And he could just be. We don't even know. He's not even real. We don't know.
I've never, that I'm aware of, besides going to like a haunted house, like a Creepy World or whatever, which has been many, many years. I am trying to think if I've ever truly experienced or wanted to go on a haunted tour. I find that amazing that people want to experience and go where the unknown is and to want to see it. You are one of those people.
I am.
And you know that you have been invited to go on a haunted tour. So you're going to need to get a hold of Frankie. I am not going, and you're going to need to get like rebaptized or something before you come back into the home. You're not, even though he says no one's coming with him. Well, how do we know that no one's little Ghostbusters riding on your back there? But there's something of, why do people want, or do you want to be scared? Do you want, what is it that drives you to want to go?
Something about the unknown.
Okay.
Something about the other side.
And you're going to be okay if you see the other side? If it happens while you're on that tour? You're going to be okay with that?
They never come out around me.
Well, then how do you know that? Your one room upstairs had orbs flying all over it when you turned the camera on.
Oh
It was
yeah,
a colder
and my
temperature
skin,
than the
my
rest of the
skin was
house.
up, but it's like, I mean, there's never been any like I've never been like touched or pushed or shoved.
Okay,
or,
you have a very
uh,
scary story. Yes, you have. You have a very scary story. You were in a van. You used to have a van. Gordon was one of those guys who had a
yes.
van, but he didn't live down by the
I didn't
river.
live down by the river in it.
Okay, tell that story.
All right, you guys ready for this? So it was
Can't
about
believe you.
1970. I was still in high school. It was about 1978. And I had one of those 70s vans with the moon windows in the back and the fur carpeting and, the bed and the captain chairs. And
Need scary music behind the
we
story.
had a bunch of kids in the van. It was about 5 guys and 5 girls.
It's a lot of people in a van.
So I lived in O'Fallon, Illinois, and there's Old Collinsville Road, and down Old Collinsville Road is a cemetery called Bethel Cemetery. Well, I'm thinking maybe 100 gravestones in there, and it's got the little circle drive. You get off the road and go in the little circle drive, come back out. We pulled in the circle drive.
At what time?
I don't even remember. It was dark.
Yeah.
It was nighttime.
Shouldn't have been in there.
So it's dark, and Dan Watterson, rest his soul, he was in the van, and all the guys got out to go to the bathroom in the cemetery, right?
So rude.
So I mean, we're teenagers. We're in high school.
Stupid.
So we get out of the van. We're all going to the bathroom, and I come up with this brilliant idea. And I said, hey, I made up this story. I said, hey, I'm going to run back to the van and act completely scared and make up a story, and you guys just disappear. And so the story that I made up was I ran back to the van. I slid open the sliding door of my van. I go, did you guys hear the gunshots and the dogs? And they're like, no, what? You didn't hear it? As soon as I said, did you guys hear the gunshots and the dogs? As soon as it came out of my mouth, all of a sudden, pow, 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 shotgun. I can hear the pellets hitting the gravestones all over the gravestones. All of a sudden, a beagle starts barking. As soon as it came out of my mouth, exactly what I said came true. I finally found some of the other guys, and
didn't one of them get shot?
Yeah, we couldn't find Dan, and Dan had actually got, I think it was rock salt, because he actually got shot in the side. A little piece of rock salt hit him. I took him to my friend's house, who was a paramedic. He says he's fine. It's just it's rock salt that just kind of grazed his skin. So, but yeah, exactly the same story. So in other words, the moral of the story is first of all, don't ever go to a graveyard at night, and don't ever make up a story, because it's going to come true. Yeah.
And graveyards, why they're so scary.
So everybody knows too. There was a house next to the cemetery, and I guess he's the caretaker.
So it wasn't a ghost that shot them, actually.
No. But what's crazy is the fact that the story came true that I made up. Yeah.
It was just a little delayed, but
right
after you told it, then it came true.
It's just incredible.
But things like that happen. But as a kid, you do want to do stupid things like I don't know why it's fun to go into a cemetery. There's an old one back where I live, and it probably only has maybe 20 from 1800s, really long time ago. And it's like Halloween night. That's the night that you want to drive back there and go into that cemetery.
You know where I thought I was going to have an experience, and I never did, was Shattinger Music down on Broadway.
What is it called?
Shattinger Music.
Okay.
That used to be down on Broadway. I worked at Subway Sandwich Shop, and I became friends with some of the people that worked at Shattinger Music. They were in charge of productions and all kinds of stuff, and that's where I kind of got into the production work, was from them. Ron and Ellery Crawley, very good friends of mine. I got to be friends with them. Well, they always got involved with big companies and stuff. They created the very first haunted house at the Limp Brewery.
Oh, really?
In the caverns of the Limp Brewery. So you would go down and take an elevator, one of those cage elevators. You go down, and in the caverns, I mean, there was a ballroom back in there, swimming pool.
Oh, wow. Underneath the ground?
Underneath the ground.
Is it still
tourable? I don't know if they still have haunted houses there or not, but they used to. But we were the first ones to build one in there. We built it in there. So I'm in the Limp Caverns all by myself, putting up
All alone?
skeletons and creating stuff for the haunted house. There were times I was there all by myself.
Didn't you say something did happen to somebody while you were there and he left, or was that?
Oh no, that's what I DJ'd at the Limp
Oh,
Mansion,
okay.
and I said, "Come on, let's go upstairs." And
Of course you
my
did.
buddy Reed Hall. I said, "Let's go." And so we started going up the stairs, and I got about halfway up, and I looked back. He was gone. I didn't know at first. I thought the ghost took him, but he was too big. He was too big of a guy. It was taking a lot of ghosts.
So did you go ahead and go up?
Heck yeah, I went all the way up there, and there's bedrooms up there, and I'm looking in the bedrooms and stuff, and it was like, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Cool, because of the thought of you had fear and wondering if something would
It's
happen.
crazy because
There's nothing cool about just looking in bedrooms.
It's crazy. I can walk into a place. It's when you turn around to leave the place is when I get freaked out, like something's gonna be behind me. I do that in our basement sometimes. Walk up the stairs, turn out the lights. I'm always thinking, there's something gonna be behind me as I go up the steps.
Why is it that we think someone's behind us? You want to hurry up and shut that door really quick.
Do you do that?
Well, I haven't done that in a while.
In a while?
You're kind of a grown man in our basement.
I don't
Saying
care.
that is really funny.
You want to tell the
But
ghost?
you're the
You want
one
to
that
tell the
wants to
ghost story?
find us.
Tell the ghost story of your old house.
We only have like before we have to go to break, but you big, strong, manly man right here, Gordon, who always wants to find a ghost and wants to go on these ghost hunts and thinks he's going to go with Frankie on a haunted tour, on a ghost tour, I should say. And one night, I have no idea, but it was probably 2, 3 in the morning, and I noticed he woke up and
No, we heard a noise. So yeah, we heard something, and I got up to check it out.
You're talking about the old house with the circle.
Yeah.
No, he's getting confused. He went in to get something to drink, and I knew it because he didn't know I was up. So I got up, and my house circled. So you could go through the master bathroom, go through the laundry, come around the kitchen, go back in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So the bedroom door was locked, so there's no way that I knew he couldn't come back in. But yeah, the closet was in the bathroom. So I don't know. I just got up.
It's dark.
I go into my closet and I'm like, I am so gonna get him. He's coming. I could barely, when you're laughing really hard and it just keeps coming up, like when you're in church or something, you can't laugh and you're closing your mouth and you're trying to keep from the sound, because I just knew what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
It was making me laugh so hard, and I can hear here he comes. So as soon as he walks by, let me add to that, he was butt naked.
Wow.
Make sure that's
sure they enjoy that visual. Okay.
He goes by. I grabbed
my
his
butt
from the closet. There was no karate chop.
This is
there
the
was
sound
no manly.
No, this is the sound that came out of my mouth.
It was slow motion fear. The fact that any ghost would grab his butt is one thing. And then the fact his whole body was white in color. There was no, I'll save you.
I was like, you're on your own.
There was sheer fear of that ghost grabbing his butt.
Because I thought she was in bed. I was like, what the heck just grabbed me?
I was going to tinkle in the bed. I was laughing so hard. I couldn't catch my breath. My stomach hurt so bad. I didn't think I was going to come out of it. Probably took an hour to finally go to sleep from how funny that moment was. So that was the best ever. Yeah. So with that,
we're going to take it to a break.
We're going to take it to the break. So
get our composure back.
We'll be right back with more of the In Your City show right here at the Lou Information Station. Welcome back to the In Your City show right here at the Lou Information Station, brought to you by our City Lifestyle magazines, Clayton, Chesterfield, and St. Charles City Lifestyle. Also, we want to give a big shout out, and that's Jennifer Williams, the owner of St. Louis Closet Company. My gosh, 35 years. Now we can say 35 plus. She is everything custom. She's everything local. She supports local. She is local. And the great thing about it, if there's a room that you have, a house that you have, a pantry, doesn't matter how small or how large, everything they do right there on site. All of their, you can literally stand at a window inside the St. Louis Closet Company and see them working on your project if you really wanted to. In 35 years, they have never missed an appointment. They are completely dedicated to what they do. And I love her motto is go from chaos to calm. And I love their new little bug that they have, which I believe theirs is red, but she hangs this cute little Volkswagen on a hanger and says, "Are your closets bugging you?" But of course, they don't just do closets. I mean, she may have started that, but it doesn't. Gosh, she did Nellie's studio. There's just, anything and everything. If you want to go from chaos to calm, she's going to be able to do that for you right there at St. Louis Closet Company. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Christopher Allen Gordon. He's an American historian, lecturer, and museum professional right here in St. Louis, where he serves as the director of library and collection for the Missouri Historical Society. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kelley.
Oh,
Great
we
to be here.
appreciate it so much. It's Mr. Gordon and Gordon are here today. Loving the name. I saw that last name. I'm like, look at you. So, but
I love it because when people talk to me sometimes,
they call you Mr.
they
Gordon.
call me Mr. Gordon, even though it's my first name. Mr. Gordon with you, it's really true. You are Mr. Gordon.
Really
so.
true with it. So you're here with us today. You've got an incredible book that you put out, which, where is it at? I need to see it. There it is. Oh,
Right
there it
here.
is.
There you go.
Letters Home from World War II, St. Louis's Messages of Hope and Heartbreak from the Front Lines. Wow. I mean, but just reading the name of your book, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, Nancy, we've got to do an interview. I want to find out more about this. You're a historian, so obviously this is not your first book. You wrote another book?
That's right. I had a book that came out in 2018, Fire, Pestilence, and Death, St. Louis, 1849. I'm really a 19th century guy, pre-Civil War. And it was that was just a great book to be able to dive into. It was all about St. Louis and how it almost transformed overnight in 1849 due to the cholera epidemic that hit the city and the Great Fire that wiped out a large portion of downtown and the levee in 1849. But there were all these other just amazing things that were going on in the city. St. Louis was on the edge of civilization, basically, in 1849. It was still a frontier town for the most part. What happened in 1849, all the influx of immigrants and people heading west and so forth, it forced the city to confront many different issues like housing and infrastructure and things like that. And then they have these disasters that were layered on top of it. It really forced the city to become a modern city. They had to widen the streets. They had to build sewers. They had to drain Chateau's Pond. If you know what that was, it was a large lake that was downtown, basically where Union Station is today.
Okay.
And it had begun. It was a beautiful pond when it started back in the late 18th century, but by 1849 it was kind
The
of
usual
cesspool.
people start to ruin things,
That's
right?
Yeah, that's right. It filled in with sewage and things like that. It became very, very unhealthy. So it forced the city to modernize just in the span of 1 year, really. And the city hasn't been the same since.
No.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Were you as a child fascinated by history and things gone by? Has it always
yeah,
been there with
certainly.
you?
And I was very fortunate in that my parents, really encouraged that. I was one of these kids that they always took me to museums and the historic sites and things like that. And I always had all these ideas going on in my head, wondering what life was really like back then. So I grew up down in Southwest Missouri near Springfield. Not far from Civil War battlefields and things like that. So I had a lot to think about, and I could do.
Yeah. Well, being a historian, we were talking and having some fun talking about ghosts and haunted places and things like that. I would imagine there could be some crisscrossing there, being a historian and being in places like you just talked about, Civil War and that. Have you ever come across anything in your studies that's been a little eerie or different?
It's funny you should mention that. For a long time, I was kind of known as the ghost guy at the Missouri Historical Society.
And tell me why.
Well, just because I had delved into some of these stories,
okay,
and looking at these things from almost like a historical perspective. And St. Louis has some great history in that area too, One of my favorite stories, though, is about the spiritualist church, and the church itself, or not really the church, but the movement that started this church actually was begun by two teenage girls in Western New York, the Fox sisters, and they claimed that they heard these knocks in the walls of this home that they had recently moved into, and they realized that the knocks had a pattern that was almost like somebody was trying to communicate with them, and that they started to ask questions like one knock for yes, two knocks for no, that type of thing, and it started to respond. And what they claimed is over time that the story was that there had been a previous gentleman that lived at the house. He was a traveling salesman, and he had been murdered in the house. So this was like the first time that this type of phenomenon had been, encountered, as many would claim, and these sisters became like this national phenomenon. Well, in 1852, they actually came to St. Louis, and the earliest known photograph of them is actually taken here in St. Louis, and we have it in the collection at the Missouri Historical Society. It's an amazing little photo. So yeah, and so these two young girls grew up. They continued to be involved in spiritualism and things like that. And like many celebrity stories, they had a falling out later, and all this and all this kind of stuff. And many people tried to get them to recant and say, well, this was fake or whatever. And one of them did. The other one claimed almost her entire life, or for her entire life, that it was not, a trick or something. But the weird little twist at the end of this story is that the house eventually fell into disrepair. And it was sometime around, I think it was in 1904, while the World's Fair was going on here in St. Louis. They decided to tear down the house where they had encountered all this stuff. And in the walls
was that traveling salesman
bone.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's documented.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet it's amazing the things that you find out in your line of work. Do you have a favorite? I know you have your book here, so let this might be your favorite right here. In your world of historical moments and things that you research, do you have something that's your favorite? It just has been incredible.
Oh, well, certainly, my first book, the 1849 story is just a phenomenal story. And that really is my favorite. And the 1840s as a decade is just a fascinating period of history.
Make me want to reread now.
Yeah, and there was just so much change that was going on in St. Louis, in the country. It's weird how many different ties there are just to the 1840s. It's just kind of a crossroads in history. So yeah, I would say that's still my favorite.
Where can we find that book?
Well, it's certainly still available on Amazon.
Okay.
But many local bookstores still carry it. Yeah, and I've been very fortunate because it's been picked up by professors to teach in classes and things like that. So
thank goodness there's people like you, Christopher, that are out there and bringing history to the forefront and allowing us to learn about it, I guess, re-educate ourselves, because we live in this fast-paced world right now. Everybody, we had an influencer on our previous show, and we're all in this fast-paced 1-minute clips and moving and grooving, as quickly as possible. And there's just such a past that which has allowed us to be where we are right now. Like you said, St. Louis had to evolve quickly in just a year's time from the immense growth, and we are just growing leaps and bounds. And it's kind of we really forget about what brought us to where we are right now and why we are here, and have all of these things around us that we take for granted that make life so easy, you know? So it's really cool what you do. And let's talk about this beautiful book, Letters Home from World War II. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, it really came out of a conversation I had with Josh Stevens, who's at Reedy Press. I've known Josh for a while, and we were talking about, you know, we know that there are some great letter collections out there from World War II, and so wouldn't it be great to have them all in one book, right? And so I started looking into it. As a historian, you know, I don't just do research in my own archives at the Missouri Historical Society. I certainly do research across the region. And after looking at, you know, in collections at the State Historical Society, at St. Louis Public Library, the St. Charles Historical Society, they all have these great collections of World War II letters, because, you know, the letters that were coming home and going back and forth in World War II, they were a huge factor in morale. Certainly, you know, these soldiers.
There was no phone. There was no instant picture or gratification.
Exactly.
How the length of time they had to wait to get the letter, and the fact that they could even find, it's easy, maybe not easy, but sending them back home, but the letters going out to,
that's right,
to their loved ones. Just think about them getting them to them.
Yeah, and that, it was a whole logistical nightmare in itself. I talk in the book a little bit about the 688, which became a very famous battalion, entirely comprised of African American women who were given this horrendous task, really, to try to sort 6 million pieces.
Movie.
6 million pieces of mail. I talk in the book about how, you know, that's like 65,000 letters per person
and
on a ship.
Passion that they get these to these people.
And so, you know, it's not just a matter of writing a letter and sticking in the mail. It had to go through this whole system to try to find soldiers that were constantly moving, and then trying to get that mail back too.
Gives me goosebumps thinking about that preview, and because I can see the preview of that movie, you know, in my head, of these women who their purpose and passion was to make sure that these soldiers got their letters.
That's incredible.
And, you know, the other thing that you don't think about is the sheer weight volume of mail. So they actually came up with a system to reduce that weight factor, so they're not burning extra fuel and so forth, hauling all this mail.
Sure.
They came up with something called V-mail. And V-mail was actually invented by the Brits shortly before we entered the war. But it was a fantastic system. So what they would do is they would, instead of a soldier filling out multiple pieces of paper and sending them, you know, that's going to get heavy after a while, especially when you add it up into the thousands and thousands. They had them fill out a form. It forced them to, you know, stick within the lines basically and keep it as short, but then they would almost like photocopy that and reduce it, shrink it down to almost a postcard size, and then that would be mailed home. Wow. So they reduced the weight factor as well.
Incredible. So how did you choose? You said you had to, you know, do
how did you compile
research? How did you choose the letters that you put in there? Give us a little glimpse at how the story takes place, and then of course you have these letters in there. How did you choose?
Yeah, well, it was really a factor of finding who was the most articulate letter writer.
Sure.
Because several things have to be taken into consideration. One is they were heavily censored, so they could not tell their families exactly where they were. They could not tell many different details of their lives because that was considered a potential intelligence threat, right? So, and people don't quite understand that. People, you know, watch documentaries like The Civil War with Ken Burns, and they were reading letters that were talking all about their experiences on the battlefield and things like that. That doesn't happen as much in World War II, simply because the censors would literally like take a little X-Acto knife and cut out portions of the letters. So you get these letters, some of them look like Swiss cheese, you know, because they had letters,
know that.
or they would send them back to the soldiers and say, you know, rewrite this and take out all this. So they could say like, I'm somewhere in Italy or I'm somewhere in France, but they couldn't get more detailed than that. They were also told, and Americans were told this as well, writing to their loved ones overseas, try to keep it upbeat. You know, the military was the military was saying things like, you know, these soldiers, they almost care more about the folks back home than their own lives.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to be worrying that their wives can't pay their bills
Right.
and things like that while they're, you know, fighting town to town and things like that. So, you know, they really tried to keep the messaging upbeat. But, you know, that's really hard to do when you're a soldier overseas or, you know, your loved ones at home. So, you know, there are letters where you definitely see that pain of separation.
Look again?
Yeah, sure.
So I've got this up right now, and it's talking about daddies in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about that.
So Eben Bradbury was a sergeant in the Army, and he was one of the first to see the camps be liberated in Germany. And he writes home to his wife to tell her, anything that you've probably seen or read in the newspapers can't convey how horrific
it was.
These camps really are. And so that's what he's writing home to tell her. You know, there's I talk about how, you know, General Eisenhower was one of the first to go through the camps as well. Bradbury was in those units, and you know, it's interesting when you read these letters and you start reading the details of history back then, and you find out that there were a lot of American servicemen that wondered why we were even fighting the Germans. They were like, you know, the Japanese attacked us, the Germans didn't attack us. You know, why are we fighting the Germans first? Why aren't we spending all our time fighting the Japanese? And when they find these camps and liberate these camps, Eisenhower says, now we don't have to explain to them why we are fighting the Germans. This sums it up right here. The horrors, how horrible these, you know, the Hitler and the regime is, and the things that they do to people. So, you know, the world was obviously shocked beyond belief to find these camps, and Bradbury just happened to be one of the first people to encounter that.
This is incredible. And I mean, just seeing all this put together, there's so much emotion within. Do you have a favorite letter?
Yeah, certainly the letters of Charles Waugh, and he was writing back to his wife here in St. Louis.
So how old would he be then? He's writing back.
Now this is another thing that a lot of people don't quite understand, I think, about World War II, is, you know, we tend to think nowadays about kids going into the service. They're like 18, 19, in their early 20s. But a lot of the men that were fighting overseas were actually in their late 20s and 30s.
Oh, really?
And Waugh doesn't even join the Army Air Corps till he's 39 years old.
Oh my God!
And he had just been married about a year. Is
that because we had a shortage of people that could go over there?
Well, it was just a different set of criteria, really. You know, they weren't they were looking for men, I think, that had a little bit of skill and knowledge and things like that. But, you know, the military would change their criteria, their standards over the years. And yeah, it was open enlistment. And so these guys were just, you know, they felt like they were doing their duty as Americans.
Right.
And so the cutoff date was much later than enlistment dates were much later. So Waugh joins. He's an attorney here in St. Louis. He was actually an attorney with the city of St. Louis. And because of his college background and his career and so forth, they put him in military intelligence. and he was assigned to the China-Burma theater, which was a very interesting and kind of nerve-wracking. It was all nerve-wracking, but much more so in that the guys would what they called fly the hump, which was flying these supply planes over the Himalayas into China to get supplies to China, which was beleaguered. It was just surrounded, you know, and occupied by Japanese forces. So he was flying in these units and was eventually, once they were to get a foothold in China, he was actually based in China. But he's writing home to his wife, just saying, you know, I miss you so much. And probably my favorite letter, and I actually named the chapter after this line, is he had to do some training in India, and he's at a base, like a base that was also being used by the Brits, and one of the officers' wives, he gets to dance with her one night, and the line he says is, "I just closed my eyes and, you know,
Envisioned it
envisioned
was
it was
you.
you."
Wow. Well, you've got to get your hands on this book. This book tells the war story through firsthand accounts, letters written by those who lived it, from St. Louis, surrounding towns. Brave individuals answered their country's call. And it just goes on to tell more, and certain people that are in it. It's incredible. Letters home from World War II, St. Louis, messages of hope and heartbreak from the front lines. I'm sure it's pretty emotional reading this book and hearing the words from all of these people that risked their life to keep our country safe. Christopher Allen Gordon is the author of this book. Got to get your hands on it. I would imagine many bookstores. Amazon is always pretty simple,
Amazon,
right? But
yeah.
we always love if you can go to our local bookstores
That's right.
and find it there. That's the best way to do it. So thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing, and we look forward to sharing more of this as well with a larger group, hopefully right inside the pages of our magazine too.
Thank
so
you so
I
much.
think this is beautiful. Thank you for keeping history going and educating us all. We definitely need it. We need to appreciate where we all came from, right?
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Mhm.
Appreciate it.
Mhm.
All right. Well, there we go. We are already at the end of the show. We appreciate you tuning in, being a part of the In Your City show here at the Lou Information Station. And of course, we always want everybody to have a beautiful evening, not waste a minute. And we always say cheers at the end of the show. So cheers.